Welcome to Sam's Business Growth Show. I'm Sam Dunning, a digital marketing, sales and business growth evangelist. Tune in and subscribe today as I'll be interviewing business leaders, experts and entrepreneurs from around the globe. You'll be learning their story, how digital marketing has helped them along the way, and exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your own business. And welcome back to a fresh episode of Sam's Business Growth Show. I'm excited today to be joined by Jay Ludgrove. Jay is the co-founder over at GL Pro UK, a full-service digital marketing agency based around creating social content whilst never forgetting the reason for marketing via social media: sales. Jay comes from a highly respected sales background and has implemented his skill set to drive business and assist and help others. He's also a keynote speaker talking about marketing, social media, entrepreneurship, video, podcasting, everything in between. Jay, a very warm welcome, Squire. How are you today?
I'm very, very well, Sam. I'm very, very well. Although I got to get me a beautiful background like you. I love that. You look fantastic.
Dude, it's not real. It's just a sheet, but don't tell anyone. Apart from everyone tuning in.
Son of a gun. I got to get myself a sheet. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Well, good, man. So looking forward to chatting today. Jay, we're going to be talking all things content marketing and if it actually drives revenue, if it drives leads, and if it drives bottom line. But before we get to that good stuff, please do give everyone tuning in a quick snapshot into Jay Ludgrove, who you are, how you got into business, and what you're about, sir.
Sure. So I've been in business since, whenever I started working at about 17 or so. But the current business I'm in is a content creation agency. And where we started essentially was we started a podcast. My co-founder and I have been best friends for, I think, 20 years next year. Actually, no, the band has been around for 20 years. I think we might have been friends slightly longer. And as I said, we were in bands and we did a whole bunch of stuff. And everyone got too busy. Everyone had big time jobs. Everyone was always busy doing something, and we didn't necessarily have an excuse to hang out. So Tony started a podcast. Tony and I started a podcast called How to Write a Tune, and we sat down with musicians and talked about literally that, how the songwriting process is. I thought it was kind of an important conversation because it was a chat I've had 1,000 times backstage or during rehearsal or sound check or something like that. Literally, tons of musicians. Oh, how'd you write that? And some interesting bits get kicked around. But I'd never had that conversation with an audience. So the whole idea of the podcast was to sit down and some musicians, which was me and Tony, and some real musicians, talk about kind of the process. For me, what that did was basically give me this intro into podcasting, and I found that I loved it. As you can tell, I talk too much on a daily basis, so podcasting is a real perfect sort of aim for me. So off the back of that podcast, Tony and I, neither of us worked in marketing. Neither of us worked in content creation or production or anything like that. We had a studio from when we had bands, and we had a recording studio that we used to make albums out of, but we'd never done anything like this. What we found is that no one was podcasting 5 or 6 years ago. So we pushed out and started offering essentially podcast production services to people like me, because if I didn't have a Tony, I would never have podcasted. I still to this day have only edited one because he really, really made me. And we have edited thousands of shows. But what we found essentially from podcasting was I did the usual sales tactic. I bought some data in local areas and was like, right, these are the companies I'm going to contact. Sure. But where we actually found business was Facebook. And that was completely brand new for me, right? And I used to tell people this, and they'd be like, Facebook? You found business off Facebook? And basically 5-6 years ago, social selling wasn't really as an understood thing as it is today. So what I was doing without realizing it was social selling. I was going and finding clients. I was prospecting essentially. I was by going to groups, podcasting groups where people wanted to be, in a start podcast or talk about podcasts. I'd be in there and I'd make sure I was the first person to respond to any requests for a new show or some sort of production. Where that kind of expanded is the US just understand podcasting, always have, as far as I can tell, certainly a lot more than the UK have for a lot longer. So all of our business came from the UK, and it was all found on Facebook or LinkedIn. And I never actually used that data that we spent far too much money purchasing as a new company. However, with the companies we did start working with in the UK, they tended to be really big innovators. So because of that, they were big enough and ugly enough and hairy enough to say, let's try this podcast thing. So Tony and I found ourselves kind of in the back door of a bunch of different really, really big companies. And as I said beforehand, I clearly can't shut up. And my colleague Tony is just as loud and proud as I am. So we would be in the back of these big teams and be like, no, that's wrong. So from there, we kind of expanded the podcasting, which was audio only at one time, into video, into design. And essentially now we are a full service content creation agency that provide all of the content, which is an overused word in my industry, that is used in marketing.
Good on you, man. And it sounds like you saved yourself a few cold calls from that data list and found a nice little way to drum up some business.
100%. And it amazes me because I still use that cold calling mentality. Like I used to be a 250 call, smile while you dial, hit the phone, leave with your ear bleeding kind of guy. Or at least I thought of myself as that. I don't know how much I genuinely did it, but that was the sort of sales I'd come from. And that was, the old adage of sales being a contact sport. You have to make more contacts was what I always used to go by. What I did was I used all of that sensibility and all of that mindset of how to be furious when you're prospecting and turned it around and started doing it with regards to social selling, which was great because it meant I could really go furiously at prospecting and finding the right people as opposed to just calling and hoping that you stumbled across the right person. So now, it's not 250 calls. It's like 12 emails. Like I might send 12 messages to 12 people who I know exactly why I can help them. I know what they need. I know what they've done recently, and I can send a message to them saying like, hey, Sam, love the podcast. Have you thought about blah, 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 which I know will help you because of blah, 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 which is, to be honest, made the whole sales process significantly more enjoyable and an awful lot easier.
Spot on. And that leads us nicely into the subject. So content marketing right now, I think anyway, Jay, is a bit of a buzzword. It's something that's flying around all over the shop, LinkedIn, other social media channels. I'd be interested to hear your perspective on what it actually means if you've got a summary of it. I know I think of it in my head, but that might be completely different to what you think.
I agree. Wonderful. So it's a really good question because, like I say, content is a dirty word as far as I'm concerned because we just overuse it. Everything's content. A written post is content. A video is content. A long form podcast or long form webinar is content. Content. What I would essentially say is that content marketing is when marketing is using some media to put that message across. The reason why it's important, and I think you're right, I think it is the buzzword of the moment, is that more and more companies have now led into understanding that social media is necessary evil. And I say that because that's how people talk of it.
Sure.
And those people who have now invested in social, they've got people within their business saying like, how do I post this often? Like, what do you want me to say? I can't just keep saying how cool we are. Like, I need other ways of saying it, other messaging. If to be successful on Twitter, you need to tweet every 4 hours to make sure that you're catching everywhere in the world. If you're going to post on Instagram, it has to be at least daily. So that's potentially 30 photos or 30 videos every single month, and it's a huge amount. So content marketing is a way of essentially creating multiple pieces of media, let's say, so I don't use the word content. So we're creating multiple pieces of media, all based around one message. A great example would be this podcast. The podcast itself is content, great, and it's coming out live, and that's kind of one. Great, we can call that one at the top. From that, you can then walk away with an audio version of the show, which can be released, in a month or two. And you could you've recorded it, I know, because you were talking about it before the show. So you could also release that onto YouTube. So just from doing this one activity, this one message, we're actually going to walk away with a minimum of 3 pieces of content before you start hacking it up and taking short form pieces or a screenshot or a something.
Got it. Nice explanation, Jay. And in terms of when we're thinking of initially creating, let's say, a piece of content, should we go for the long form option firstly? Is that going to save us a lot of time, Jay? For example, we could put together one really big ebook or one big podcast, and then from there we've got so many different forms that we can then output in, like you said, into video format, into short clips and promo and stuff like that. Is that the way to go, or are there other options?
It's certainly the easiest way to go, in as much as you're putting something real nice and big into the funnel. The reason I like for our clients to try and create a longer form piece of content is that they're busy doing their jobs, right? So because they're busy doing their jobs day in, day out, I don't think that they should be like carving off half an hour every day to make another video. If you can do something like a podcast and walk away with half an hour worth of content, it's very easy for a company like us to come along and say, great, well, at this point and this point, Jay actually shut up and Sam was given a chance to talk. So we're going to cut those 2 minutes and we're going to release that. And Sam's now got a promo for the show. So, and that's really the case. If you start with a nice long piece of form content at the top, then that long form content, it's much easier to make say an article or a written blog out of a long form piece of content, because someone can listen to the whole thing, get ideas from it, take a few snippets, boom. It's much harder to write a decent blog about a 2-minute video. So I'd always suggest is start something long like we're doing here, because it gives you the capacity to create actual, 10, 15, 20 pieces of content off of half an hour, as opposed to trying to spend half an hour creating one piece of content 10 or 15 or 20 times.
Got it. And have you got any, I'll put you on the spot a bit, Jay. Have you got any advice for, let's say we're in quite an unusual sector. Okay. So a lot of us who be tuning in might be B2B business people, professionals, sales professionals, marketers, etc. What if, say, I'm a gardener, Jay? If I'm a gardener, I want to drum up some business. I want to get well stuck into content marketing, but all I've got is my shovel and spade. I'm not going to say anymore because I'm just going to piss off a lot of gardeners. But let's say I am. What kind of content could I be producing?
It's a far more nuanced industry than that, and you leave them alone, Sam. So I think ultimately the problem people make with any kind of content marketing is trying to sell. You don't need to sell. If people stumble across your thing and you're a business, you're selling. And we know that, right? We all know that. We're all informed buyers now. We all have Google. We all find what we want to find, and we get there. So if you're a gardener, if you're a plumber, if you're someone well away from any of this content marketing thing and everyone's shouting content, you can still do the same idea, because your clients still have a certain set of problems. Now, don't talk about the fact that, hi, at Jay's Gardeners, we fix your rhododendrons. No, instead do a video on how rhododendrons need certain care, right? Or talk about the damage that rhododendron disease could do to other plants or something like that. Talk about messaging which fits around your services. You don't necessarily just want to talk about anything, but if you talk about something that goes around your services, then your clients have different ways of searching for something and being like, oh, okay, so Sam talked about that the other day. I wonder if he could help me with that as well. And that's the way to go. So gardener, plumber, bricklayer, I don't care. If you'll speak to someone and solve a problem for them, then you can create content.
Awesome. And that's, like you say, can be applied to any industry. Just understanding, like you say, the questions or the common problems that your ideal clients have. Mm-hmm. So bring it back to gardening. Like how do we plant this? How do we service this? How do we do this? Creating content around that's informative, and going from there. Really, it sounds like.
Well, the thing is gardener's a great example, but you know what? So is digital marketer. There are so many of us, right? There's so many digital marketers out there, right? There's a 1,000 gurus, Jedis, what else?
Ninjas.
Ninjas, thank you, sir. That is the top 3. Right, so there's so many of those crazy job titles that crazy people are putting up there, but who can offer the same services we do. We're much more expensive than them. We have a whole business here. We provide an awful lot more services. A one-man band is always going to be undercut us. Why would someone want to come and work with us is the question I'm always asking people, right? Why do people want to work with you, Sam? Why do people want to work at Sam's Gardeners, right? There's loads of other gardeners around. So it's you. It's the old adage, right? Sales has always been that people buy from people. People see these videos with me on it and go, don't want to work with that guy. He swears too much and he's all handsy all the time, right? Great. Now we know. Or they see us and say, okay, well, they're doing exactly the thing we want to do and talking about the right messaging. Maybe I should give them a call. Same with a gardener. I can go into the yellow pages, showing my age. I can go into Google and I can pull up 100 gardeners in my local area, and everyone's all fighting for the same business. Why do I choose gardener A over gardener Z? What's the difference? Ultimately, it's going to be the person, but Do I have to, as the buyer, contact every single gardener or every single supplier in my area who gives a service and ask them about themselves to find out if I like them or want to work with them? Because as a buyer, I'm never going to do that, right? There are no magic buyers so desperate to spend money that they're calling through all your competitors and saying, hey, Jay, I went through everyone and you're the best. So put it out there. Show why people work with you. Show why you're an expert. Show what you do differently. I'm sure there's something. Even if you're doing exactly the same thing, you still have a good USP. So do that. Put it yourself across. And as awkward as video is, it's really, really awkward and horrible. And, we're all too fat and we hate our double chins and the sound of our voice, right? But that's what people see. That's what people see when they meet you. So if you can get over yourself and be able to start like creating or recording some video, the wonderful thing is only you have to release it. You're the one who pressed send. If you really hate it, you don't have to do it. More importantly, it gives your clients a chance to be like, that's Jay. That's what he does. That's what he's about. I'm going to get in touch with him. If you're not doing that, why should people get in contact with you? Because I don't know the answer.
It makes sense. So let's say we've worked out who we want to get in front of. We've worked out the kind of content we're going to start with. So perhaps we're putting together some videos. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're starting a podcast. Maybe we've even decided to write a full-on ebook explaining 3 top ways to do X, Y, and Z in our ideal industry. So we've put together this content. Is there a specific channel or channels that we should be distributing this content out on, Jay? For example, website, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. What do you think?
And it all comes down to the who. So the social platform that you choose is absolutely dependent on your audience. Okay. So there is no point posting a bunch of business content on TikTok. It's not going to sit in front of the right people. Real high level. This is where you buy your printer ink, right? You're not going to have success for that on TikTok. However, post that onto LinkedIn, you're going to sit in front of the right people. So actually what it's about is assessing your customers, assessing who your audience base is, and looking how they communicate. Now that sounds like a bunch of fancy marketing stuff. You have to employ someone to do this. You do not. And here are some simple ways. If you look at a service you're looking to provide, as I said earlier, there is absolutely other people providing that service. Okay, that's one nice thing. There is always another digital marketer or another gardener or whoever you do. There's a ton of people doing it. Go and look at them and see what social media platforms they have and see where they're being successful. If you see any of your clients, and you should follow your clients on social media platforms, when you're following them and you see they like something on something, great, that's a right platform for you. So it can take a bit of research and it can take a bit of looking, but the general rule of thumb is B2C is Facebook and Instagram. B2B is LinkedIn and Instagram. And also TikTok also sits in B2C. Twitter is kind of its own beast and can be very agnostic to who it's speaking to. However, I personally think that Twitter is starting to see the decline as it doesn't have all the features that people seem to enjoy in the other social media platforms. So whether starting a Twitter account right now is the best course of action, I'll leave for you to decide. No,
fair enough. And let's say we've worked out where our ideal customers are sitting on, Jay. We've sorted out the channels. We've started kicking out this content. How quickly can we get results? How quickly can the leads be flying in? Is it day one I've put out a post, the leads are coming in, or is it a long game? Is it a medium game?
So, interestingly, when you're talking about my bio, one of the things we always say is that marketing doesn't work without sales. Okay, right? We always say that because it's not quick. A salesperson, you can employ them and see a direct ROI within some months, right? If you're a nice boss and you give them all the training, you can actually start to see them pay for themselves in a very short period of time. Now, paid advertising, similar thing. You're going to pay literally for the business to come in. The problem with both with those two actions is that you have to pay to make them happen. Marketing or content marketing, essentially every time you create an asset, create a video, or you create a ebook or any sort of piece of content, you're creating an asset for your business, which can be reused multiple times, just like a laptop is an asset for the business or your phone is an asset for the business. The more you use that asset, the more profitable it becomes. So you can release a piece of content on a video, for instance, on LinkedIn. Well, that can also be released on Instagram. It can also be released on Facebook. So everything it cost you, the time and the energy or the money that it took you to create that one video is now being cut into thirds because you're using it across all 3 platforms to see an ROI. It's always the case. Unfortunately, people got kind of like used to understand that marketing takes a long time, and then social media happened, and right, I want results now. If you're creating assets for the business, they will be more and more profitable for you as time goes on, but it's not something that's going to happen in 6 months. It's not something that's going to happen next week. However, if you specifically create content that can bolster your sales, and I don't necessarily mean only people who have great, big, huge sales teams. I mean anyone who is doing the selling. It makes life easier if you can say, hey, Sam, I know I called you 2 months ago and you weren't interested, but I just want to see if this video is of interest, right? I thought it's about you, something that would really sit well with your business, and thought I'd send it over. It's a really good excuse for me to get in contact with Sam and say, hey, dude, want to buy some stuff, right? But I don't, that message has never worked for anyone. So if I can send a video and be like, here's some value, here's something that might help you, it can open up a new conversation for us, and that can get you ROI day one. The other really quick ROI from content is your perception of your current clients. When we first started releasing videos regularly, and my first videos were literally me just going like, hi guys, blah, 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 blah. It was all shaky and it was all over the place. And I was filming like this. So, they had no production behind them at all. Within a month of releasing video every single day, which was a mistake that I made then and don't try and keep up to now, once or twice a week is fine. But from in a month of starting to release content on a regular basis, each one of our clients got in touch and were like, I know you're doing really well. Can we still afford you? And I was like,
interesting.
So I was like, yes, nothing's changed. Please say you can still afford me, right? I didn't start making videos to make you go away. I had to find other business. But literally the perception within our client base, and some of these people are family. Like I've known them for an awful long time, worked with them for ages. Just the perception they had by us releasing these videos, that we were doing so well that they wouldn't be able to afford us. That in itself has its own incredible power.
That's such a great point. Perception. I can't tell you the amount of times where it's like you say, content marketing well and truly is the long game. Getting in front of people, getting in front of your ideal customers, showing your face regularly, daily, if you want to do it, or a few times a week with however frequently you're posting, depending on what your schedule allows. But the amount of times I've had people message me saying, Sam, I've been following your content for this long, like this many months or this many weeks, and I thought I'd reach out. It's just incredible that you can actually be in front of people for so long, and then when they trust you this much, then they'll get in touch. Which I think links back into content marketing nicely. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like you hammer out this one video and then all the leads are going to suddenly start flying in, but it's usually the tipping point of they followed you for this long, or they've seen this much of your content, that now they're at the stage, they've just seen the right piece of information, that now in the stage to give you a call or give you a DM or email you, depending on what the...
And it's about that brand awareness. It's about that perception. So, right now there's about to be an awful lot of people looking for work. Okay, so it's going to be a flooded market. And what you're saying is that you're going to be essentially an entity which is going to have a lot of competition. And you are differentiating yourself by also sending a CV. Okay. That's good. I like that. Interesting. And then when they come to your LinkedIn, they find nothing. Okay, pretty powerful. Don't do that. Same thing with a business, right? There's a load of other digital marketing companies. We differentiate ourselves by saying, like, this is us. We're silly. The MD swears too much. This is who we are. And look at all these things we're creating, right? We're really our own dog food. So we can differentiate ourselves from a company who might do all of the same services just as well, but from the outside point of view, unless I call them and find out and get a proposal from them and GL Pro, I don't know that, right? So it's putting yourself out there. Now, for all those people looking for work, now is a very, very good time to be releasing some video content, because guess what? It's an employer's market. They have the absolute pick of the litter. They can choose the puppy with the great big ears and the great big feet right now, and they can get them cheap. So how are you going to stand out and show your big paws and your big ears off? Release video, show people who they're going to work with. It's not necessarily something you got to do forever, but if you're looking for work, putting that open to work banner on LinkedIn, it's not enough. I see it constantly, and I see it from people who are definitely in work. Like, so I'm already blind to that. When I'm going to employ you, why am I going to employ you? Right? It's you. versus loads of other people. The person who you're literally up against in the final 2 jobs before I actually interview anyone, you could have sat next to at university. They could have done the same job as you for your entire career. There could be no difference whatsoever on it. But when I see a video and be like, like that guy, or wow, they're real serious and to the point, that's exactly what we need for the role. All of a sudden, I'm going to screw up one of those CVs, and that's the person I'm talking to.
Yeah, good point. Great way to stand out in the inbox. Send a video instead of the hundreds or thousands of CVs that are coming in.
Big time.
Bit of a bold statement, but I think sometimes we've just got to take the balls and just make it happen. Because just think of LinkedIn messages, for example. The amount of spammy DMs, like for example, I probably get between 10 and 15 pictures a day that are just generic. This is what I do. This is how great my service is. This is how many awards I've won now. Do you want a quote or whatever? But if you sent me a real tailored video, 30-second video, where it just kind of explained, oh, Sam, I've seen that you do X. We can actually help you with Y. I understand you do this. I'd probably respond to it because I never get videos. I think the last time I got a tailored video message or a tailored audio message was about a month ago. So it just shows how few there are and how good a way it is to connect.
I got a ton recently because we were employing we had a new employee. Basically, we're looking to build more of our sales team out. And I got a ton of DM videos on LinkedIn because I was out there. Now, recruiters are a real interesting thing to look at on LinkedIn because they owned the space for quite some time. Everyone remembers when LinkedIn was just your CV, right? Your CV was up there in everyone's CV. That's because recruiters were using it so much. It made sense. They actually changed the way people use the platform because they were so big on it. It's quite nice to see them now looking at new innovative ideas, how to stand out amongst all the other recruiters when it's now a given. You know, first, the person we employed was from recruitment. Day one, here's LinkedIn, right? You know, in fact, you start using LinkedIn, this is how you're going to do your job. So I got quite a few videos, but I'm like yourself. I don't get that many, and I get so many pictures. I get so many pictures before they speak to me. They don't say hi, Jay. Well, they do. They say hi, Jay. How are you? And here's my pitch. So I'm not interested. I probably would be interested in looking at that pitch or actually giving it the time of day, if at very least it was a video, right? If it was a video of someone, because the minute or two that my dyslexic brain will take to get through that short pitch can be said in 30 seconds and I can be engaged the whole time. Like, oh my, that's all the stuff I like. So it's just ways and ways of using content to make sure that you're getting yourself out there. And I think DM video is a real powerful route that not many people are using yet.
Agreed. Okay, Jay, let's pretend we're a startup business and we're thinking of getting into content marketing. We haven't got much of a budget. Perhaps it's just our own business. Perhaps we've only got a couple members of staff. What can we get stuck into that's not going to break the bank, or perhaps we can do with next to no budget that can actually get some content flowing for us and over time perhaps get us some inbound inquiries and leads?
Sure. Well, one of the reasons that I know you and I both love podcasting, Sam, is that after the initial investment of a little bit of equipment, it's free. Essentially,
Sure.
You know, it's a real easy way to have great conversations with people who are like-minded and also get yourself out there. So a podcast is a really, really easy way of starting yourself to create content. But what I'd actually say that the problem most people do is they launch themselves into something like a podcast day one or a YouTube channel or something. What they haven't done is tick the boxes. What do you do? Why are you good at it? What does it solve? Why, right? Go out and look at the services you provide. If we, our startup has 3 core services. Let's make sure that we create a bunch of different messages about each core service. So if we use my business as an example, quite clearly, we provide podcast production. So I could say, hi, everyone, Jay here from GL Pro. Podcasting's fantastic and contact GL Pro. But no one cares. Or I could talk about how businesses use podcasting to get a better ROI out of content marketing. Or I could talk about how the benefits of podcasting to be able to get through to customers that you haven't been able to get through to, sell into them, because you can actually open a conversation and invite them as a guest. If I do other videos around what we sell, not the thing that we sell, but around what we sell and the problems that your customers might provide, that's not too bad. So the first thing I would do if we were a startup, I would sit down and say, here are our 3 core services. Can we come up with, say, 4 ideas for each of these core services that talk about the problems we fix? Because that's what someone's going to search. Someone's not going to search Jay's podcast production company, please. They're going to search podcast production, Southwest London, and see what they find and see who comes up. So you want to release messages that could pretty much be what people search, and that's going to be sort of better and come back to you. Once we've come up with these, say, 12 ideas, I would then, the main thing I would spend money on, a tripod. Right, get a tripod so your phone's stuck in one place. Great, that means you can get the lighting right, you can see it and make sure that you know it's good and be like, okay, do I need a little bit more here? Oh, that's too much. Okay, good, now I know. And then for a day, if we're a startup, we have a day's time. Spend one day creating those 12 videos. Right, it's 4 ideas per each of our core services. So we're looking to get 12 videos. Each video, a minute or 2 minutes, nothing too much. If you do that, you could potentially set yourself up to release 2 videos a month for 6 months, just off one day worth of work. More importantly, all of the messaging you release, all of those videos where you're releasing 2 videos a month, are all going to be based around your core services, which unfortunately is something I see a lot of companies actually miss. They don't tick that box of like, we do this. They're too busy talking about the cool things that they maybe want to do in the future. Much better to like say, we do this. This is how we do it. This is what we fix. This is what we fix. This is what we fix. Because that's what people care about. They don't care about what you do. They care about the problem they have and how potentially you can fix it.
Awesome. Love it. And like you say, it's minimal cost. Once you've got the kit, you can crack on, think about the problems you solve, how you make people's lives better, and just start creating the content. I think the key is just to start doing it.
It really is. You have a device.
Yeah.
No, and it's not going to be forever. Exactly. It doesn't have to be the best content. When Tony and I started recording music way back when, it was a nightmare. You had to buy a desk and like mics and stuff and things. Now you can just get a laptop and hit like record. Bam, done. We all have a studio right here in our hands, right? You can edit in it, you can release on it, you can record on it. So you don't have any excuse not to be able to hit record. Right, I understand that we did it in the past because like, oh, I don't have a big old camera thing. Well, you do now, so you can give it a go and release it. And what's really nice is you can post it out to your audience, and if people hate it, delete it. If people love it, or if people say, hey, this is okay, but I'd love it if it did such and such then great. We're in a place where you can then amend your content moving forward so it talks better to your audience.
Spot on, dude. And for anyone tuning in rather than watching, Jay's talking about a smartphone.
Yes, I am. Apologies. Oh, yeah. Look, known podcaster showing things to the audio only guys. Yes, I was waving around my podcast, you gorgeous audio listeners.
Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We've covered some great ground in terms of content creation and how we can get cracking with it. Everyone, you've been tuning into Sam's Business Growth Show, where we sit down with business leaders, experts, and entrepreneurs from around the globe. We find out their story, how digital marketing's helped along the way, and their exclusive tips and insights to help you skyrocket your sales and skyrocket your business. Jay, if you could pick only one digital marketing channel for businesses to get stuck into that would help them from now, which one would be your choice?
LinkedIn. Had to say that as quick as possible because LinkedIn is still hugely underutilized. I could delete every other platform and we could still make as much money as we do today. I could get rid of my phone. I could delete my maybe not my email, but I could get rid of all of these methods of contact if I still had LinkedIn. It is easily the most powerful way of contacting other people in business. Now, if you're B2C, that's not the case, but that's what I do. So that's why the platform I love.
Yeah, fair play. Dude, I wish they could link in my email to LinkedIn. I spend so much time on it. Imagine it. I'm just on Gmail 2 or 3 hours a day sucks in. So if it all could be in one platform, that would be dream.
If you don't mind me shouting about a startup company, which I've started working with recently, absolutely blinding company called Sourcewell, really worth checking out. They've actually created a service which connects your email to LinkedIn without breaking any of LinkedIn's rules. It's a Chrome plugin, meaning that you can literally put together a list on LinkedIn and then find and email each one of those person from Sourcewell. They're a really good company, brand new, still at that wonderful stage where you can say, does it? And they say, yeah, sure, tomorrow, which is a wonderful, wonderful stage. But Sourcewell is well worth checking out for those people using LinkedIn and wanting to add email into the process.
Have to have a look at that. Awesome, man. And we'd like to ask if you could thank just one person, either dead or alive, having a positive influence on your life and your career, who would that be and why?
very easy. Now, I know she won't turn around, even though we can kind of see her right about yonder. But someone took a real punt on me back in the day, which was Michelle Lewington. She ran a company which I worked for and started in lead generation and worked all the way up to becoming a sales director. Without her support and just knowing that I'm a moody soul sometimes and I'm a real emotional fool, but without kind of pointing that in the right direction, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't have been able to help that company out, and I certainly wouldn't have sold half of what I did. So that's an easy one for me. Alive and Michelle.
Amen. And cheers to marketers that sell. Jay, tell us a bit more about your business, how people can learn from you, how people can connect with you, and the best way for everyone to get in touch with your good self.
Thanks very much. So you can find us at GL Pro UK, so GLPRO UK on all of the platforms, or myself, Jay Ludgrove, on all of the platforms. It's JAYLUDGROVE. We constantly release content to show what we do. We also constantly release messaging out to help people out. As you can see, I really don't mind giving away any of the magic. I'm more than happy to. Quite frankly, the more I give away, the more people come back and say, hey, we've done all of that. Now can we have some video? So yeah, find us wherever. And also, I'm really open to have a conversation. If you want to chat, you want to say hi, even if you've just got something you've been scratching your head about, please feel free to send me a DM.
Awesome, man. Jay, really appreciate you coming on, dude.
Take it easy, Sam. It's a pleasure as always, sir.
Thank you, sir. And if you enjoyed the show, please be sure to hit subscribe on your podcast channel of choice. It's Sam's Business Growth Show, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, wherever the heck you get your podcasts. We've got interviews with business leaders each and every week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Are you tired of constantly hunting for new customers? You could be missing out on regular inbound opportunities, all because your website isn't on the first page of Google. Perhaps you're already spending lots of money on advertising, but your website is failing to convert all of your hard-earned visitors into a consistent flow of new customers. If you'd like to learn more about our unusual approach that brings ideal clients straight to you, connect with Sam Dunning on LinkedIn or book a free 20-minute consultation via webchoiceuk.com. That's webchoiceuk.com. Subscribe today for more digital marketing, sales, and business growth tips from the experts.